Hello, everybody. It is great to be back with you guys. It is great to see you again. It's been a while since I've done one of these podcasts, probably about 6 months. So this is going to be about the state of New Mexico sports. A lot has happened. A lot has happened in the last year or so. And we've had a lot of nice things happen, really, when you think about it. There's still some more things going on out there that need to be cleaned up, things like that. And I'm going to get into that kind of stuff. First of all, congratulations to Lobo football, who's just basically done kind of miracle worker. Maybe Jason Eck is the miracle worker that Rocky Long talked about so long ago, 15, 20 years ago, I believe he said that. And here they are, 9-3, and possibility they're going to a bowl game, possibility of winning one and having 10 wins, and first time in like forever, basically, since back when maybe I don't know, Richard Nixon was president. I don't know. You'd have to go look at the record books, but that's a real positive, and I'm going to get into more of that for sure. Then you have some stuff that's getting cleared up. New Mexico State, its hazing scandal, things like that. You had Greg Heyer get his settlement from the state of New Mexico, and he received about $600,000. That went to his attorneys and himself, and they divvied that all up and paid who they had to pay and that sort of thing. He was grilled for about 3 days here in Albuquerque, eight hours a day, and they deemed that he deserved a settlement after his arbitration hearing, which is required by the state. So that happened, and so now we're getting more and more into that story. Now we have Mario Moccia coming back and saying, hey, wait a minute. He's filed a complaint, and he's asking for the rest of his salary. In case you didn't know, he was fired by the present university president at New Mexico State. And so now he's looking for compensation. And I would say he better be careful, because that could open up a Pandora's box for sure, especially that Office of Institutional Equity, which is basically like a big corporate HR. It's there to protect the company, and they don't really bring justice, so to speak. And I got to say this because I've said this in other podcasts about years ago. If you're a student athlete and something happens to you like hazing, sexual assault, or anything like that, you go to the police. Don't even bother with these OEIs. Do not even touch these things. They're pointless, in my opinion. My own personal opinion, okay? Do not touch them, because they won't do anything. They'll cover for longtime staff. They'll cover for administrators and things like that. And I think that's what's been happening at New Mexico State, especially under Mario Moccia. And that's why I say Pandora's box. You better be careful, because there's been Title IX investigations before. And now we have all of that getting cleared up. Little by little, it's getting cleared up. And, I kind of wonder, I often wonder, when we go back to the Mike Peake shooting, I can't help but wonder if that was the first time he ever carried a gun on a road trip. In case you didn't know, there was a shooting 2 years ago. It's already 2 years. Wow. 2 years ago, there was a shooting at New Mexico State and, UNM. And he basically, in self-defense had to protect himself, because some UNM students tried to kill him. But I can't help but wonder, did he carry a gun on road trips when he was under Chris Jans? And I can't help but wonder if this all could have been avoided if Mario Moccia had allowed Greg Heyer to suspend him. Would he have even been on the UNM trip? These are questions that I ask, because it just leads me to DeShondre Washington, and his case is still going on. He's on I believe his third lawyer now. And that seems to be kind of a fiasco, in my personal opinion. It seems like a fiasco, because they will not move the trial from Las Cruces. And I don't know if you can really find anybody out there that didn't know all the details and be slanted towards the Aggie way. I really don't know how you can find a non-biased jury. And the judge is a New Mexico State alum, Conrad Perea, excuse me. He's a New Mexico State alum. And so it just seems like the state is trying to stack up charges against DeShandre. He has like 40 something felony counts, and probably a lot of them are frivolous. The defense attorney in the first press conference, roughly 6-7 months ago, said, look, videos are being deleted, evidence is disappearing, and people are changing their stories. And here's the kicker. He was offered a plea deal of 0 to 9 years in prison. Or he could go to trial and end up, if he's convicted, 45 years. 45 years. That's basically his whole life. Social Security will kick in when he gets out. That's if he even gets any. I mean, the point is, he is betting on himself right now. He is literally betting on himself. And most people, if they had that many charges, would take a plea deal because there's a good chance they're going to be prosecuted and convicted. Not DeShandre Washington. He is going to go through with all this. And so that's pretty amazing to see. So those are definitely things to watch out for. And I just, another thing too, I just can't, we want it all to end. Of course, obviously, we want it all to end. We definitely do. We want it to be over with. But it has to play out. The process has to play out. And we want these universities clean. I call them publicly funded businesses. Other people call them their institutions, but I call them publicly funded businesses. And I, as the taxpayer, want to make sure that people are getting their money's worth by going to these places, and they're safe and they're protected. For sure. Now, hopefully we can get to the bottom of everything. And I just can't help but wonder, like with the Aggie alumni, I can't help but wonder, they must be really frustrated now that they've been paying Mario Moccia and now he's suing their school. They've got to be frustrated with all of that. And I'm afraid this thing is going to get even more dicey. And we'll see if the local media actually reports it. I mean, we got so many weird connections still going on, like the Aggie NIL collective director going to Vandy with Jeremy Kill, and of course, Diego Pavia. And now he's at New Mexico Highlands asking for $85 million for their athletic program, while his son is suing the university in the second civil lawsuit that was filed with an anonymous player and Kyle Fiat. So all these things are going on, and it's just, you just shake your head, but you just want it to end. And they say, well, don't talk about it. Well, you have to talk about it. You have to get down to the bottom of it. And not to be outdone, though, UNM, this is the state of sports in New Mexico speech. UNM, they did, in my personal opinion, they did Shane Domas-Sanchez dirty, okay? They did. A player assaulted him on a plane on a road trip to Palm Springs last season, broke his nose, re-injured his shoulder was already injured on a plane, and it appears nothing was done about it, okay? It appears there was no discipline. Of course, the player that assaulted him was True Washington. We all know that now. And the media said, well, we don't really want to report it. So basically, they didn't really do their job, okay? That's the bottom line. They did not do their job. They did not do it, okay? And there's so many questions like, why isn't there a pilot's incident report? Because this happened on a plane. You have players in the back, alumni in the front, coaches in the middle, or maybe vice versa. But either way, there's flight attendants and a pilot, and there's no incident report. There was no call to aviation police because that's their jurisdiction. Nothing. And it just tends to violate UNM code of ethics and how they're supposed to handle this. Richard Pitino should have done something. Okay? Richard Pitino should have done something there. And of course, True Washington did not get suspended, and they flew Shane Domas-Sanchez back to UNM. They certainly didn't deny his attacks. He was actually attacked at the hotel again, and another anonymous player, and I know who that person is too. They were attacked at the hotel, and the whole team saw it. And this looks to be something that was completely swept under the rug. You know, just terrible, just terrible. Like I said, these are publicly funded institutions, and as a taxpayer, I want these places to be safe for students and to uphold some integrity all the time. And no player, True Washington, should never be above the program. And it seems like because he was a good player, okay? He was a good player, but really, think about it. Think about it. They kept him on there because he was a good player, averaged double figures, and all this for what? To go to the NCAA tournament, make $100,000 or so for a first round loss, which is what they've been consistently doing for quite some time. And that's what it was, to sacrifice integrity for that. And basically, I honestly don't remember who they lost to. See, and this is the problems we have. We had an athletic director, Ed Nunez, there. Thank God he's gone. Thank God he's gone. He parachuted out to Houston. He was also the one that covered up the Jackson Weller case. Jackson Weller was not a UNM baseball player. He was basically, in my personal opinion, appeared to be a recruiting violation. Okay. And now hopefully we get some closure on all that. Hopefully we get some closure on that. So, but Shane Domas-Sanchez is healed up, and he's now at a community college and continuing his career. And yeah, there was a report that said that possibly a relative of his attacked True Washington later at the end of after the season in a parking garage, but there was no real confirmation on that, and that case might be more ongoing right now. But the point is that Shane Domas-Sanchez should have been treated a whole lot better. He was expecting leadership from Patino and the others to do their part and to exercise their authority, and they didn't do it. They didn't do it the right way. Okay. And I'm glad that Patino's gone. I got tired of his tweets of sunsets. There's only so many sunset tweets before you know that he was just using and abusing UNM just to get on out of here. And frankly, I don't think he was that great of a coach, but that's just my opinion. Okay. So, but let's go some positive things. Okay. Let's go positive here. All right. You've got Jason Eck comes in here and turns a football program around, gets attendance figures in the 30,000s, and now there's mention of renovations and things like that. Fernando Lobo is, if he keeps on this pace of what he's been doing, he could possibly end up in the New Mexico Sports Hall of Fame just for the effects of what they're doing. If they can turn this into a football program that people can be proud of, that they'll want to show up on a Saturday to watch, that will be super impressive. And I honestly, whether Jason Eck is here or not, I honestly think they need to renovate that stadium because it is a dump. It is a dump, okay? It is, all right? It should have been done 20 years ago. I've said for a long time, tear the thing down and build a new one or renovate this thing. I mean, it's built on 2 big mounds of dirt. Just renovate the thing, for crying out loud. Just do something with it. Fix it, okay? Get it up to 50,000. People say, "Well, I don't think 50,000. You know, it'll never be filled." Well, you know, when it was 30,000 and they expanded to 37,000, guess what? They got those crowds. Their largest crowd ever is 44,000. And if they can start doing concerts and things like that in this stadium at 50,000, let's say you get Coldplay or something like that, Coldplay, Rihanna showing up in a 50,000 seat stadium in New Mexico, that's a shot in the arm to the economy here. That just the marketing value all across the nation changes things for New Mexico. It does a huge number for New Mexico. And also, I think you look at Aggie Memorial Stadium. I think it's nicer than UNM Stadium by far. And I hope that they do something with that stadium too. I hope they get their press box. And so I think things are going good. They just hired Joe Fields, who's about to make an announcement in January, I believe, of something special down there. So that should be something to look forward to. And I think both universities are heading in the right direction, and they're coming up with some great ideas. And I'm excited, actually. I'm getting actually excited about both schools, because I'm not a fan of both schools, but I'm actually getting my interest. I'm an Oklahoma Sooner fan, okay? Boomer Sooner. But I do tend to like these schools a little bit, Aggies and Lobos, when they do well, okay? It's not, they just don't appeal to me, okay? I apologize, but I talk about them because I live here, born here, but I'm an Oklahoma Sooner fan. It is what it is, okay? The thing is that UNM and New Mexico State are going to have to get ready for the next realignment, because I believe it's going to happen. I think UCLA and USC are getting tired of traveling. Return on investment in the Big Ten and those places, is it as good as they had hoped it to be? And I think it's going to flip again in about 4 or 5 years. I think it's very crucial for UNM and New Mexico State to get out there and build these facilities up and build these programs up for sure. And it's important for all of you to go out there and support these schools, because they are taxpayer funded, and get them to a point where they're self-sustaining. That's why I say do the renovations. Do the renovations, because they need them. They need them in order to compete. They need them. It's been too long. It's been 20 plus years that they should have done this stuff already. But if they can start competing and they can start getting national attention little by little and becoming more regular, maybe people will not think that we're part of Mexico. That's one aspect of it. And I think it would do better for this state, for sure. That's what we need to do, is start to get these guys, the state legislature, and Fernando Lobo, Joe Fields of New Mexico State, to get over there and get together, get a plan, and build these things up. And, well, you know what? They also need to fundraise, too. They need to get out there and fundraise. So you Aggie and Lobo alumni need to start donating to these projects if you want to see these places successful. That's what it comes down to. And going on from there, I'm looking at the NMAA, and Fernando Lobo said it best, and I think it's a brilliant idea. It's nothing new, but to have central localized state football championships at University Stadium. Joe Fields needs to get in on that too, because the whole idea really behind that is so that they can see all the kids in New Mexico. All the college coaches can see the kids in New Mexico. Art Briles, who just recently got hired by you in Eastern New Mexico, he might be there. Western New Mexico Highlands, UNM, New Mexico State. That's 5 universities that can see all these kids. And you're looking at about 200 plus kids at a centralized location for Championship Saturday. It makes perfect sense to me. And we're not even counting the coaches that could come in after, come in out of state and start evaluating too. And I think that they could get about 20,000 in that stadium. I think they can, if they market it and they just really pump it and you guys get behind it. I think that's possible for sure. You guys need to do it. You guys need to do it. You can do it if you want to. Okay. But the NMAA is basically all about money, pretty much. They could rotate this thing, basketball and football, with New Mexico State and UNM all day long if they wanted to. Other organizations, associations do it all the time. They could do it if they wanted to. If they wanted to, they could do it. It's easy. It's event planning, the whole structure, everything. They could do it if they want to. Okay. It's what's good for the state, not what's good for this community or that community, but what's good for the state. That's what you have. That's how you have to look at it. That's really how you have to look at it. And that's what it needs to be. And so that's where everybody needs to come together. But I think the NMAA is going to, they always they always, in everything they do, they make excuses and things like that. And they just want to control everything. They're just a power hungry organization, honestly. I'm getting emails from people and photographers telling me that, yeah, I'm getting harassed by them now, even though I got a school pass and all this other stuff. And it's just, I get tired of it. I really get tired of it. We got to do something. We got to sit down and talk and come to a resolution here, because there's a lot of businesses out there that are not getting the access because the NMAA wants to have control. The transfer rules, that's another whole different subject. Makes absolutely no sense. It's like talking to people who are desperate to be perceived as smart, but yet they end up looking like hypocrites, and just common sense goes out the window. And that's the NMAA for you. Okay, there's a lot of things. That place needs to be cleaned up, in my opinion. Get rid of appeal fees. Get rid of all that stuff, because that's just you trying to get money in your pocket. And then we as taxpayers giving money to the schools, which then in turn goes to the NMAA with dues, this educational nonprofit. And they're investing our money, and where's the money going? You know, you have to ask all these questions. I think they need to be audited, looked at seriously, and we need to really get down to some things, and we need to simplify the rules, because if you can't explain it within a sentence or two, the rules, then it probably needs to go off the books. So that's just my whole thing on all of that. Now we'll get into 4A and 5A. And I'll just give you just a quick rundown of things. 5A, I think it's wide open right now. 5A boys basketball, I think it's wide open. It could be Sandia's year. They've got a nice, very athletic lineup. They have Gad Harris. They have Isaiah Brown. They have George Smith, Malachi Knox. They have some others coming up. Deion Cumber impressed me this summer. They're coming up. It could be Cleveland with Remy Albrecht and Darius Steverson, a very exciting freshman to check out for sure. He's the brother of Daniel Steverson. Definitely one to check out. You also have Las Cruces with Ben Walton. You have the Brisby brothers, excuse me. They're coming up. And that team looks formidable, and they look like they could make a title run. That's definitely another team to keep an eye on. You also have La Cueva with Garrett Thomas, I believe I'm saying his name right. And then you have Peyton Fuller, very athletic lefty. You have Drew Bramlett, son of A.J. Bramlett, former Arizona star of 97 national champion, Arizona Wildcats. That's another team that looks very imposing. Definitely. I see some dark horses too with West Mesa's Dalen Holtz, and they got an 8th grader on there. I believe his name's Miko Hyen. That's another group to check out. You have Albuquerque High with Ethan Ozell. That group is going to be interesting. I think they can do some stuff this year. You also have some other schools out there that I'm filling out little by little. Hobbs is another one. They beat Sandia in the first game. Sandia didn't have all their players, and so you might look at that a little differently if they had a full squad. But either way, Hobbs took care of business and won that game for sure. So 5A, excuse me, looks pretty imposing. I like Rio Rancho too. Caden Richardson is a very nice athletic player for them. And as you go all through it, Volcano Vista with David Lund and that group, they could do it again. I think it's completely wide open right now. And I'll give you some more takes once the season gets further in, once we get past all the holidays here and these tournaments and the Metro tournament that's coming up pretty soon. I'll give you some more thorough takes on it. But for right now, it's barely 2 games in, and everybody is just feeling each other out as far as to how they're going to play and how they're going to be. And hopefully everybody that was injured in football is healed up and they're going to be ready by the time the Metro comes around. Now you look at 4A. 4A, I look at 4A. I think it's Arteeza's world again. They have Charlie Campbell, Braylon Vega, and Clay Kincaid, the big three right there. That group is going to go for back-to-back titles. You also have Albuquerque Academy with Hunter Amy, and Zach Borrego is back from his excursion to Louisiana. He's now back here in Albuquerque playing this year. His father, James Borrego, coaches the Pelicans right now, so best wishes to him. Hope Zion Williamson gets healthy for him. And now you have Highland, of course, with Jerry Moody in the middle and Joaquin Rimas. That's an interesting group that I just watched. First game of the season against Carlsbad, hit a layup at the buzzer to win it 51-50. So that's another one that's going to be interesting to watch. 4A is just there's a lot of teams there, and again, it's just like 5A. There's Portales, Pierce, Culpeper, another one to watch for sure. Take a look at them and see what you think. They're another one that could sneak in there. You also have Valley, of course, and Belen, and a few others. St. Pius X is coming up a little bit, and so of course, Hope Christian. Another one I'm really interested in seeing though is Del Norte. Del Norte's got some new athletes, and Francis Stovey, I believe is his last name. That's another one to check out. They're very athletic, and we might start seeing some dunks every game. So it's really positive right now with high school basketball. Everybody's just kind of even together, that sort of thing. And so we're looking at something that could be very, very exciting, especially by district play. So with all of that, I just want you all to start dreaming again, start supporting and getting out there and supporting things and just start dreaming a little bit, because good things are happening in the state, even along with the bad and the crime and the homelessness and things like that, and the politics, of course. But there is some good stuff happening in sports, and there's definitely a chance to make things better. And you can do it by just putting a little support in, holding people accountable, definitely the NMAAA, and just getting out there. And like I said, I'm repeating myself because we all know what needs to be done. Get out there and support. Take your skepticism and just put it in a box and put it away on the shelf and just give things a shot. So with all that being said, I thank you for watching. I thank you for playing. Got our first episode relaunch done. And we'll talk to you later.